Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. Notepad for Jenny, Babysitting, by eetobaggadix. Hi Jenny, thanks again for dog sitting for us. $350 per day as agreed will be paid to you when we come back in 3 days. That's a lot of money, kiddo. Please read through all the pages of this notepad. Just go ahead and keep it with you in case you're worried about forgetting any of the rules. No pressure or anything. Pickles and Kilroy are pretty easy to take care of. They're real sweethearts. The dog's food is in the bottom cabinet next to the pantry. Fill it every morning and every night. As for the water, make sure to fill it up with a filter and give them the water from the filter, not just directly from the sink. Something about the unfiltered city water makes them sick, and no one wants a sick dog. What a mess. Take them both for walks every morning and every afternoon. They'll get antsy with us gone and chew up the furniture. What a mess. Don't worry about the catfish in the fish tank. When Kilroy gets excited, he might jump on you. Personally, I think it's sweet, but if you want him off you, you just have to toss a toy and play catch for a while. Just don't open the door for anyone who knocks, okay? We live in a nice neighborhood, but if it's really important, they can come back. Kilroy likes to play catch inside, and Pickle likes to play catch outside. Go figure. Make sure you wash Pickles off with a hose if she gets too dirty. She likes to play in the water, just don't let her track any of the mud inside. What a mess. If the fish tank springs a leak, what a mess. Don't worry about it, we'll clean it up when we get back. It might smell bad and the floor will be wet, but that's it, okay? It's not a big deal. Just don't worry about it. Please ignore the catfish. Go ahead and leave the TV on all the time, the one in the living room. Mute if you have to. All the pets like it. There's a video game in my son's bedroom. Do not override his save files, for goodness sake. Just play on your own new game or whatever. But if you see the fish tank in his room instead of the living room, just turn out the lights and close the door. If Pickles or Kilroy are in the bedroom with you and the fish tank, you'll be okay. But they're rowdy, free-roaming dogs and might leave you alone in there, and no one wants that. What a mess. I think that about covers it. Thanks again, Jenny. Keep an eye on our dogs, and don't be afraid to let them keep an eye on you. I may be gone, but know that we'll meet again in heaven one day. And on that day, I shall rise from the bowels of fury perdition and appear as a serpent with 7 heads to slay your angels, strike you down from your throne, and begot a son to rule on earth as I shall in heaven for all of eternity. A Hearty Betrayal by Substantial Bite 788. The restaurant was nice, first time eating there, nothing spectacular, but nor was it disgusting. The movie was funny, I'll watch it again. The night went well, except I felt alone. My wife wasn't talking much. She never initiated any conversation, only responded with yes or no and sometimes maybe. Nothing much beyond that. Are you alright? Yes. You sure? Yep. On the drive home, the acid in my stomach began to boil up into my throat. I'm going to stop at the store and get some antacid. No answer. Walking up to the store, I looked back at my wife. She looked somber, irate, elderly, a statue gazing out into nowhere. The gray in her hair was accentuated by the red neon sign hanging in the store window. I went inside and found some antacids and lemon-lime soda. I swiped my card, not noticing the clerk. I was focused on my wife. She had been unhappy for a while now. Need a receipt? Hey, do you need a receipt? No, I hesitated, thinking that I had never asked if she wanted anything. I exited the store and stepped over the concrete parking block. A skinny, tall man wearing a gray hooded vinyl jacket was standing next to the car talking to my wife. I couldn't see his face. His head was down and he had a hood pulled down over his eyes. I could hear his deep voice and my wife's jovial laughter. I grabbed the door latch in anger and jerked it upwards. My hand slipped off and I tumbled backwards. I'm sorry, I locked the door, my wife called out. Her voice was distant and muffled. She leaned over and locked the door and pushed it open. The man dashed away. Who the fuck was that? Nobody. Calm down. He was just trying to borrow some money. She was smiling, a far different person than before I went into the store. She radiated happiness, a certain kind of bliss I had never seen in her face. Did you get me anything? No, sorry. What do you want? I'll go back in and get it. No, I'm fine. I just want to go home. No, I mean it. What do you want? Nothing. I just want to go home. Please, Stan. It's all good. I'm sorry I've been gloomy tonight. I'm just tired. We passed into the last traffic light before our subdivision. You just ran a red light. What were you laughing at with that guy? She laughed. He was just... She paused. Silly. Silly? Well, I'm glad someone can make you happy tonight. There was not much more conversation that night. There was an unsettled anger between us, a silent understanding that only marriage couples understand. We got undressed, laid in bed far away from one another, watched a little television, and fell asleep. In the middle of the night, my throat started burning. I was regurgitating fire and sulfur. I went downstairs to the kitchen. Antacid wasn't going to quell this madness. I needed something stronger. I filled my glass with some tap water, shoved out 2 spoonfuls of baking soda, stirred, and drank the vile concoction down as fast as I could. My stomach seized up in agony. I was in so much pain that I couldn't move. All I could do was stand there bent over. Any attempts to stand up straight would cause more cramping and excruciating muscle spasms. There was an intense pain for more than a minute, then a swelling of instant relief as I belched out the pressure that was rolling around in my abdomen. There is nothing more soothing than the juxtaposition of immediate relief that comes after prolonged acute pain. I stumbled back upstairs, feeling relaxed, my stomach warm and calm. As I pulled the covers up to get back to sleep, I happened to glance at our bedroom window. There in the backyard, it looked like a hole had been dug out. I couldn't make out the length or the width. I just saw an amorphous black void, a space where nothing existed. My wife was snoring, belling out long draws of incoherent dream talk. Middle of the night is always right. He loves me. I got dressed, went to the basement, grabbed a flashlight and a tire iron. It was a frigid night, and my hand was shaking, casting the stream of light about in an erratic motion, never catching upon the object of my concern, the hole. When I finally got to the hole, I could see that it was rectangular in shape, the length of a full-grown man and about 6 feet deep. Someone had dug a grave in my backyard. Behind me, I heard a shuffling. I turned, but before I could put my arms up in defense, something steely pounded me across the forehead. I lost my balance and fell into the grave, my flashlight and tire iron still in hand. A ray of light flashed across the silhouette of my assailant. It was the man in the gray hooded jacket. Blood was streaming down my temples and into my ears. It was steady, warm flow. My head was throbbing, my sight blurred. I tried to roll over to my side. My body was constricted by the narrow walls of my earthen abode. My arms were weak and frail. Every move I made took an immense amount of energy. Dirt was slung onto my face. I could hear a shovel pitched into a loose mound of dirt. I was being buried alive. I screamed out for help. I saw a flash of light from above. My wife had heard me. She had turned on the bathroom light. The shoveling stopped. I heard the man scramble to the back door. "Stan, are you out there?" "Yes, help me," I uttered in despair, not thinking of the danger I was causing upon my wife. "Hold on, I'll be right down." "No, call the police." I heard the back door open, but I didn't hear the expected shriek of fear and the maddening cry for help. "Well, now we can be together," I heard her say. "Do you want me to kill him first?" "In a minute, darling, but first I need you to come inside." I felt my heart implode. I was desolate and ready to die. A light, misty rain began to fall. It was soft and soothing, a dangerous lull. Time and misery had allowed the mist to turn the dirt into inescapable mud. When I finally found my resolve to try and climb out of the grave, it was to no use. With every grasp of earth came the tumbling down of more fill for my burial. I felt around for anything, a root or a rock, something I could firmly clutch in my hands. But there was nothing. I could yell, but it would be no good. We lived in a rural area, miles away from civilization. Our nearest neighbor was a mile away on either side. I collapsed down onto the ground and waited. My only chance was to hurl my tire iron at the man, hoping like hell I hit him square in the head. If so, then maybe we'd fall into the grave. I would beat him to death and use his body as a ladder, and then I would find my wife. Oh, I would find my wife. The thoughts I had are too terrible even to write down. The rain became a deluge, tiny muddy waterfalls coming cascading down the sides. I had been buried in a froth of penitential misery. Man had dug the grave, but God was burying me. I heard a scream, a high-pitched shrill. I rejoiced. Her plan had gone awry. She was getting what she deserved. He may get away, but at least she wouldn't. I heard the back door open. The rain ceased. The last act was upon me. The curtain was being drawn. Something was being dragged across the ground. There was a grunt, and then a body slung into the hole. The dead weight fell stiff against my outstretched legs, its right arm forced across its naked back by the side wall of the grave, and its head buried in the water. I pointed my flashlight at the body. At that point, a gray hooded vinyl jacket was also tossed in the grave. I rolled the body over. It was the man with a caved-in chest where his heart should have been. I heard some clanging. A ladder was lowered down into the grave. "Come on out of there, honey." I pointed my flashlight upwards. My wife was standing next to the ladder. She looked younger, just as beautiful as the day I had met her in high school. The gray in her hair was gone. She smiled. Her teeth were stained with blood. "Don't worry about him. I'll finish up here." I climbed up the ladder, uncertain of my fate. When I got to the top, she came to me and put her arms around my waist and pulled me into a forceful embrace. "I love you so much. I hope this doesn't change anything between us. I'll explain it in time. It's only every 20 years. Later that night, she came to bed and snuggled up beside me. She dozed off and began talking in her sleep. Before, I had never paid attention to what she said, but now I heard everything. I hear the cruelty and the malevolence with which she had existed. She confesses to me her sins, and I absolve her of any wrongdoing. partly out of pity, but mostly out of fear. Especially the fear of what may happen in 20 years. My childhood sweetheart and I made a vow that if in 20 years, if we were both still single, we'd find each other again and be together no matter what. If she slumps in the chair now, it's only 'cause her spine sort of dislodged when I was digging her up. I pulled something weird out of my belly button by SpikeHayes. I'm kind of freaking out after this morning with the blood and all, but let me explain the last few days first. I've always had a little piece of dead gray skin in my belly button, like a fish scale or something. I'm an innie, by the way, as we called them as kids, versus an outie. Like some kind of abominable cyclops staring out at everyone during shirtless summer days. I always wanted the outie. Anyway, I've had it my entire life, like a piece of belly button lint that fossilized along the way. I assumed it was part of the umbilical cord and stayed attached, withered, and dried. I tried a few times to lodge it because of my obsessive nature, picking at it with a pinky nail or swabbing it away with a Q-tip. This wasn't daily or anything, just whenever I happened to remember to wash it in the shower or notice the extra flab surrounding it. A bit more of that lately, which is why I've been dwelling on it more. Too much comfort eating, I guess. Day before yesterday, I was obsessed over it more than usual, to the point my belly button and surrounding skin was pink from scratching. I went into the bathroom of my apartment, took out tweezers from the medicine cabinet, and set out to do some excavating. I am super careful and kept picturing someone bumping into me with the door and me jamming the tweezers into my gut. I live alone, by the way. The tip of the two stainless steel tweezer prongs gently pinched together on the gray flake. I squeezed a little hard to see if any nerves were connected, but felt nothing. I gave a gentle tug, again fearing a sharp pain that never came. The piece of dried skin didn't move. I pulled harder, pinching tighter, but kept everything controlled. It felt like my entire belly button was being pulled outward, so I started wiggling the tweezers back and forth in an attempt to dislodge it. That worked. It slowly pulled up into the side, and then to the other side, and then a slight pop movement came free. Something apparently tore because there was a pinch of pain and a small sprinkle of blood. I winched and quickly dabbed it with a tissue. That did the trick. I can't explain the mad feeling of gratification that pulsed through me. Like leveling up after an impossible boss battle, or popping that Mount Vesuvius on your forehead. Only 1,000,000 times better. The elated feeling only lasted a second, though, until I looked at what was caught in the tweezer. It had hair. I peered closer and swear there was a little whitish bits, like grains of sand, in an upper and lower row and 2 slits above those. The hair was bristly, individual barbs that stuck out in a single strip along the top. I shivered. For whatever reason, I wanted to keep it, like a patient keeps their kidney stone. It had been with me, a part of me, for so many years. Dumb, I know. Lame, even more so. I dropped it in a small mason jar and set it on the shelf in the living room. I don't have any trophies or medals for sports to display because I sucked. But this felt like a victory. Years of battle trying to dig this thing out, and I finally did. For the rest of the day, I couldn't help but admire my handiwork every time I walked past the shelf to go to the kitchen. Mr. Umbilical. He even looked like he had a little scrubbed up face with a punk rock hairdo. Yes, I realize I need to get a life, but remote work, you know. At first, you feel lonely, even with the work chat pinging away, and then the outside world starts to feel like a dream, grocery shopping like a field trip. And then it's not that bad. So don't judge too hard. At least it wasn't a sex doll. Yesterday morning was rough. Town hall meeting on Zoom, and they made us be on camera. The worst. I took on the zombie death stare at my computer monitor, afraid to look at the camera lens and watch all my coworkers and the executives in their little talking head boxes. I can't tell you what they discussed. After it was over, I head to the kitchen. Another cup of coffee was definitely an order after that. I glanced at Mr. Umbilical and stopped, leaning closely to look through the mason jar glass. I swayed back and forth to see if it was a trick of the glass, a distortion, but it held. The punky hair, 2 rows of white teeth, and 2 little beads above them, black as oil, right where the slits had been. "What the frick?" I said out loud, staring hard at the jar without blinking. Mr. Umbilical stared right back, a blinking contest from hell. I straightened and walked to the kitchen, keeping my head turned and eyes on the jar until I was at the counter. I definitely need to get out more, I thought. The coffee poured streamed into my "today is a Control-Alt-Delete kind of day" mug. I walked back to the shelf and looked at the thing with eyes in the mason jar. I knew they weren't really eyes, and it probably wasn't even an umbilical cord. More likely accumulation of junk that started forming when I was a kid and didn't know the metrics of good hygiene. Damn, that coffee tastes good. It got me through the rest of the morning, and the energy drink helped me finish off the day. When I woke up this morning, the craving for coffee was gone, which was weird because that's usually the first thought I have, my coffee fix, followed by thinking of today's the day I finally give notice at this job. I felt a sharp twinge of pain when I sat up in bed and looked down at the white sheets swirled around my torso. They had red on them. I yanked the sheets back and stared down at my belly button, rivets of blood trickling out the hole and a red smearing around it. I must have torn it worse than I thought. I went cold, but not because of the blood. The health insurance for my job was a joke, and I definitely couldn't afford an emergency room visit. I ran to the bathroom, jostling various bottles on the sink, and pulled out the hydrogen peroxide. I sat on the toilet seat, leaned back so my belly button was almost horizontal, and I poured the peroxide into it. Holy hell, did that burn and fizz up. I let it soak a minute and then mopped it up with a wad of toilet paper. What a relief. No more blood. I couldn't see any obvious damage inside, and the prickling pain had stopped. I leaned back against the toilet tank and let out a deep sigh. At least it was Saturday. Once the drama was over, my foggy brain bullhorned that we hadn't had coffee yet, and I could already feel a caffeine-deprived headache coming on. I finished in the bathroom, got dressed, and walked through the living room. I glanced at the shelf, middle finger fully deployed, and frowned. The mason jar was empty. If you press the button, you will instantly receive 50k, but a random side effect will activate throughout the entire universe. 50k has been paid into your account, and water now has an expiration date. There's something wrong with the new house I just bought. By C. Resolution 2062. See, I just moved out of my parents' home at the whopping age of 29. I've been saving up my money since I got a job at 19. I never went to college either. Since I never went to college, I have a pretty cheap paying job. It's better than minimum wage, but not $50K a year better. The house I recently bought is small, which is fine considering it's just me living there. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom connected to the bedroom, a kitchen, a dining room, and a living room. Now, the problem started last week. I was trying to finish setting up my kitchen when the toaster popped open. That was very odd considering I wasn't toasting anything or even messing with the toaster at all. But the toaster came with the house, so I figured it must be broken and that's why they left it. I didn't face another problem until 2 weeks later. I was face down in my bed, 9 o'clock at night, and I had just gotten home. I was half asleep when I heard it. The shower had turned on. I could hear the water running and it draining slowly. I managed to force myself up in the half asleep, half awake place I was in. But as soon as I reached the bathroom door, the water stopped. What the hell? I said out loud, half expecting someone or something from the inside bathroom to reply back. Nothing did. The bathroom door was shut. I was standing directly in front of it. I was almost too scared to open it. And then I reminded myself that I was a grown-ass man. I wasn't a pussy, and I wasn't scared. I grabbed the knob, twisted it, and flung the bathroom door open as fast as I could. Nothing. Nothing was there. I'll be honest, I almost fell to the ground from the relief that overflowed me. I was expecting to see some growling on all fours monster staring at me. Thankfully I didn't, and I know I shouldn't have, but I brushed it off as nothing, and I really shouldn't have. Small things have been happening ever since. Nothing major. Nothing enough to scare me so bad I moved in with my parents. Just doors I thought shut being open and lights I could have sworn I turned off being on. It was almost a month later before something big happened. It scared me so bad I almost packed my shit and left. And now, looking back, I should have. It was midnight, Saturday, my night off. Since it was my night off, I was staying up late playing on my phone. I sleep with all the lights in the house off, mostly to keep the electrical bill down. It just so happened to look down at the bathroom door. It was shut, but I could see yellow through the crack at the bottom of the door, meaning that light that I previously turned off was now on. I was honestly going to just leave it, but I kept thinking about it, and it just kept bothering me. So I got up to turn the light off. As soon as I opened the bathroom door, the light turned off. Click. My bedroom light flicked on. This wasn't even what really scared me, but a few seconds later, I heard a crashing noise from down the hall. It sounded like it was either coming from the kitchen or dining room. I started my way down the hall, and I'll be honest, very slowly, as if something would jump out at me at any second. I made my way to the dining room, where the lamp had been on the table previously, but now was a disaster on the floor. Glass was everywhere. I got a broom and a dustpan to clean it up. Most of the glass was in the dustpan. I went into the kitchen where the trash was so that I could dump the glass in it. I stepped on the thing on the bottom of the trash can that makes it shoot open. And just as I did, I saw with my own eyes my cabinet door fly open and then just a moment later, my flower being knocked out of it. Now, also a disaster on the floor. I almost shit my pants right there and then. I dropped the dustpan full of glass and hurled my way to my room. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Then, my grown-ass self jumped on the bed and under the covers. I didn't move until I saw a light from the rising sun shine through my curtains. I decided to put cameras up. I don't know why. It's not like there was a person causing all of this, obviously. I honestly just wanted to see if stuff happened while I was at work too, or just while I was at home. All the stuff that happened always occurred at nighttime. I'm writing this from my bedroom. It's 3 o'clock in the day, and it, whatever it is, has become bold. It no longer cares whether or not it's night. It doesn't hide in the dark anymore. And God, I wish it did. A few minutes before writing this, I checked my cameras. They show live footage, and you can also rewind and watch old footage. I was watching old footage from yesterday night when I was at work. Doors would open and close by themselves, same for the kitchen cabinets. Lights would flicker, and every so often, I swear I could see a black shadow. While watching, I heard a noise I hadn't heard before. It wasn't a crash or a loud boom. It was more like a humming noise. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It sounded close but far away at the same time. I checked the cameras in the dining room. Nothing. The kitchen next. Again. The cameras picked up nothing usual. Wait. Hold on. What was that? In the far left corner. It was a black shadow, except it wasn't. It was way clearer than that. I could see the details, like there was eyes looking like it had seen something you could never come back from. Or the way its mouth was curled up into a smile, but not a nice smile you see neighbors you don't really like. A sinister, cruel smile. It didn't match its eyes. Whatever this thing was, it shouldn't be smiling. It seemed to teleport from the kitchen to the dining room, back to the kitchen, and repeat. It was in the kitchen when it teleported again, except this time it wasn't in the dining room. It teleported to the bathroom, which is connected to my bedroom. And that's when I noticed my camera wasn't on live feed. The footage I was watching already happened. I quickly changed it to the live feed, and it was no longer in the bathroom. I quickly snapped my head to look at all 4 corners of my room. Nothing. I switched the camera to my room just in case. I wish I hadn't. Underneath my bed, under me, where my feet were hanging off, was a head sticking out. Those same eyes, and I swear that smile had gotten bigger. And I realized where the humming sound had been coming from all this time. As the villagers piled wood around the poor woman bound at the stake, one man cried out, "If she truly be a bride of Satan, why does she not use her witchery to overwhelm us?" As nervous murmurs of debate spread through the crowd, the convicted woman quietly said, "Oh, I was just waiting until you were all in one place." And with that, our time together is coming to an end. First of all, I'd like to thank the patrons and members for supporting this channel/podcast. I would also like to remind you, if you have a story you'd like me to narrate, whether true or fiction, you can send them either through my subreddit, my website, or even email it. And most importantly, I would like to thank the writers who let me narrate their stories this evening. We started this off with a rules horror, which I'm going to be trying to bring more into this type of video from now on. It's a subreddit I absolutely loved, kind of forgot about because life is chaos, and I want to bring it back into the fold and start narrating those more for you guys. I think they're a great way to build on some horror in a very short amount of time. I just hope it isn't such a mess for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed them too. And I love when you think a story is going to go one way and turns out another, like the second story we had. Truly thought his wife had betrayed him, but she was the monster, and, well, the prey was the, secret lover. I absolutely love how you turned that on its head. We all kind of know it's like how belly buttons are kind of weird and bizarre. I thought this story would be interesting, and now where did that thing go? Is it back in the belly button? Well, theorize for me. And then to buy a house that is haunted and you don't have anywhere else to go. It's a pity, and actually kind of normal with horror stories, but I do completely get it. All your money's tied up in one spot. Where can you go? So I hope you guys all enjoyed these stories, and I want to do a quick update for my channel as well. So going on in the future, I'm going to be doing 2 sleep videos a month. One's going to be true and one's going to be fiction. And then once a month, I'm going to do a compilation of all the 2-sentence horrors for the last month that's now on the new channel for you guys. So for those people who really love the 2 sentences, which are still staying in the videos, there'll also be a compilation for you guys once a month. Now, with all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. And of course, you can leave me a comment. Tell me what you like, what you'd like me to do in the future, stuff like that. I would love to hear some feedback and know what kind of stories you guys are into. If you're listening on the podcast and are on a platform that allows it, please leave a review as well. And if you're on Spotify, I do have questions you guys can always answer as well for easier reply. And of course, if you'd like to help the podcast or the channel grow, just sharing it with anyone who might enjoy it really helps quite a bit. If you'd like to help in other ways, I do have Patreon and memberships where for $1 a month you get early access, and depending on what tier, you get a few other things as well. I also have Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Super Thanks if you just want to do like a one-time kind of tip donation like thing as well. All this will never be expected, just always appreciated, and really helps quite a bit to support the channel. What always has and always will mean the world to me is you guys watching and listening. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.